Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this learning sessions sponsored by Wejo, turning vehicle data into monetizable value and business. This is the topic that will be presented by Benoit Joly, Executive Vice President, Automotive and Mobility at Wejo. Before starting the presentation, please do not hesitate to share your questions into the chat feature. So as you can see, you have a chat on the right side of your screen. And at the end of the presentation, we will spend time for a Q&A. So now, don't waste our time. So Benoit, the stage is yours.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thanks for joining this session. I'll try to make it as interactive and illustrative as possible. So, as you know, and maybe to start, Widgeo is a kind of growing name in the mobility and data industry and the automotive industry when it comes to intelligence from data. Okay, so we are unlike data brokers. We're not a data broker. We are trying to turn data into intelligent insights and try to monetize these insights onto different, what we call marketplaces, but more different customer verticals. And actually, we strive at trying to turn indeed and turn data into intelligence. We try and we are very strong at what we call data for good. So it's not a latest marketing bullshit, I would say. It's really something where we think every day about the use cases and the kind of intelligent insight we are creating to see how it can serve population, how it can help save life, for example, with hurricanes evacuation route in the US, etc., etc. So we want to impact consumer experiences thanks to the data. So that's a long road, as you can imagine, because the level of maturity when it comes to automotive data processing remains pretty low. We are taking that route, and on that route is pretty interesting because we see a lot of both on the automotive side and also obviously on many, many verticals that you would think are very, very far away from the data streams. We are a company that will step into, we'll go public very soon in a couple of weeks. We are backed up by very strong names. GM, first one, is someone that trusts us on processing, managing, and marketing and monetizing their data. That means they understand that when it comes to data processing, our platform is bringing the right level of quality, latency, real-time treatment. So we process globally with GM and all the 17 OEM. We process more than 11 million live car data stream every single second. Okay, it's a very, very low latency and a high quality stream. We have also people like Sampo, who is one of the leading insurance partner in Japan, who has invested into the company. Why? Because they think that we can help them build the right data processing for connected vehicles that help serve a lot of insurance use cases, some in the automotive, some completely outside the automotive. So the intelligence we bring to that as a platform helps them. We have Microsoft, who think that from a data processing and platform standpoint, by leveraging the Azure cloud, we can build something much better together. And they want to use our data processing capabilities for automotive and mobility to see how it can span across fleet businesses around even enterprise corporate businesses later on. And we have Palantir, a pretty famous name when it comes to data switching, data processing, but consider that from the automotive vertical, we have a state-of-the-art platform that they wanted to invest in. So usually they take one platform per vertical, for market vertical, and on the automotive, they selected Widgeo as being their platform of choice out of that. So these names give us a lot of credibility statement when it comes to going back to OEM and say, how can we make something out of your data so that you can turn that into money, into value, both externally to different markets, but also internally within your own play. And this is a value prop that we want to apply beyond OEMs. As you see, we're a fast-growing company. We have 11 million vehicles, I told you, 17 OEM and tier ones, because we work also with tier one partners contract. We are fast-growing. We have 250 people spanning across the world, so teams in Japan, in the US, in Europe. And we are, let's say, very strong at trying to create partnership around the globe to, again, find the right ecosystem that will create the most value for the data of the OEMs. Well, our platform is called Adept. This is the last slide that explains how it works. The platform is called Adept, and this platform, which has a lot of IP into that, does play roughly, let's say, the ingestion, the validation enrichment, the normalization, and then the egress of the data out of that. And that does it for automotive car data, but that does it as well for a lot of third-party enriched data. So we combine pollution data, weather data, we combine, public transport data, and many, many verticals, like even retail data. And we bring all of that together to create this famous insight that these kind of verticals are buying from us, because that helps them do a better job at running their own efficiency on business. I want to insist on one thing. This platform, again, is managing data on a streaming and live basis. That means the beauty is not simply to take data, because you have many, many guys who can take data and process data, is to do it in real time across the globe in millions of data points live, or trillions even, live every single second, so that we can create this real-time intelligence that is worth fueling into the different verticals. These capabilities, when we started discussing beyond the OEM world, we thought that fleet would be interested. And actually, when we discuss with a lot of fleet operating partners today, we see that we have a lot of things to bring them, and we started already with quite a few of them to get into that. So obviously, the first value prop that people expect from a partner like us will be the aggregation. Simplify the operations of connecting to multiple OEMs, multiple data sources. This is a classical, let's say, basic block for data brokers, okay? Which is for us, the basics that we do is we try simply to get you one single API when it comes to connecting to OEMs. The second one is to indeed get the value out of your data. The fleet data are very valuable, obviously, but we trade value on very different marketplaces. But fleet thematic providers will not go naturally after, because you focus on fleet services, you focus about entertaining the efficiency and your TCO for your fleet. But we can actually give you a different revenue stream that complement what you are doing on a daily basis to help fuel your investment behind that. The third one, and I'll show you example afterwards, okay? We have plenty of examples. The third one is insight. This intelligence that we apply to different verticals, that we apply to OEMs, we apply it as well for fleet guys. And you will see some examples where we help fleet people who are not equipped with the army of data scientists that we have to get simply a very simple, very straightforward access to intelligence out of the data. And some of them are doing that already themselves. I mean, no issue on that, obviously. And some of them say, well, why do I invest finally into an army of data scientists who are very volatile people, whereas you guys have these guys already on board, the experience to manage that, and potentially a visibility across multiple geographies, across multiple fleet operators, and across multiple OEMs. The fourth one is services. Again, we know that UBI, insurance, scoring are very popular these days. Here again, a lot of people are doing that themselves. These are for us very easy insights, very easy enablers to get out of our platform for fleet operators to concentrate on their customer relationship and be sure that you deliver simply the service and your consumer relation. And last but not least, I used to work in my previous job with many startups in the OEM space. And actually, it was very complex for startups to engage with fleet guys, with OEMs. Why? Because the data access was very complex. The legal process was complex. And actually, that kind of killed a lot of startups, and it kind of slowed down a lot of innovation down the way. So we really would like to position ourselves as a kind of marketplace for startups to access data, so that startup and fleet operators can collaborate in a much more fluid, smooth manner to create innovation together. With that value prop, just to show you some example about how we can turn data from fleet into value by aggregating that with many other data around. So as you can see here, we help pretty classical smart city and smart transportation use cases, preventing incident areas, combining with weather conditions, outlining vehicle occupancy, identifying work zone safety, playing parking infrastructure, and telling you, because we have critical mass, what is a parking park out capabilities in a certain area and how much time you will find for parking there. So we help a lot cities, we help a lot government agencies, we help a lot operators of transport to simply analyze the data across multiple cars and try to bring this intelligence back to them so that we can organize much better the smart city behind that and the transportation in that. And the level of precision is obviously much, much better than any kind of smartphone related data for you to make some analysis for traffic management on intersection, for example. This is the kind of product that we are delivering to everyone on Insights. When it comes to Insight, we have a product that we just launched a couple of weeks ago called Widgeo Studio. It's kind of a very, very nice way for you to play with data, to play with the data from your fleet, from many fleets in an anonymous way, in multiple geographies, and apply a lot of use cases attached to this one and filter as much as you want to get there. One of the kind of use case and insight we deliver is indeed helping fleet people to shift and decide who could be shifting to shared mobility. I mean, how many of these corporate companies could be eligible to shared mobility? How can you turn people who are driving alone in their car into more shared mobility and carpooling drivers? So these are kind of insights that we can give turnkey to fleet operators to go back to the corporate fleets they are engaging with and be sure they can start this conversation with them with a very, very clear visualization approach of people who can go together. One of the key elements as well on fleet is the switch to EV. And this is where we also are very well positioned to help, thanks to the mass of information from the fleet that we have, to understand who are the most people eligible to EV switching. What are the catchment areas compared to charging station? And we help a lot of charging station providers to position their stuff. How the charge points are utilized. Obviously, you can go to the network guys to get this information, but we also natively add it from the car as well. And then, like that, give intelligence on the way you organize the switch from a hybrid or from classical engine into EV engines. And this intelligence, again, are tools that you can utilize to entertain discussion with corporate companies and with fleet companies in a very graphical and very analytics manner. Safety, I've heard that this morning and everywhere, is very important stuff. And we use the sensors from weather, from the car. We use the sensors from many, many other areas. And we combine them to simply bring you the map or bring you the information, the intelligence that helps you get the trigger to your drivers about where this is safe, where this is not safe. And like that, you can turn that into action. You can turn that into something where you give a real-time feedback to your drivers through the app, or you can even display a pop-up in the car dashboard potentially if you want. So this is again the proof of a combination of very different elements and sources of information that brings analytical insight for you to operate much better the safety and security of your fleet customers. When you combine that with residual value capabilities, when you try to aggregate the behavior of people and residual value management, this is an example here where we help an OEM to manage residual value for EV customers. What is finally happening when you look at a car itself? You can get a lot of data from parts. You can do proactive maintenance, predictive maintenance, or preventive maintenance. But actually, there is one key element that impacts this residual value is the behavior of the drivers. And we are creating patterns of behaviors. We link them back to parts wear and tear. We link it back to battery usage. And like that, you can get a much more precise, much more accurate residual value management that is linked to the real-life behavior of a car and the real-life behavior of a driver. And that gives you an analytical insight that helps you manage your car park in a much better way, much more efficient way. This is something we do in Japan for some OEMs and fleet guys there. And they think it's very helpful for them to simply get a more precise after-sales approach to residual value management and leasing management. Well, I mean, it's been told quite a lot this morning. I mean, the total cost of ownership with maintenance remains a big issue to turn into preventive and predictive. And as you understand, the analytics we drive have that. Energy management, I told already about that. The switch to that, which can be turned into a scoring for people to simply analyze on that. Since we have a critical mass on routing on the different roads, We have the ability as well to bring more intelligent routing to your fleet, especially for last mile delivery, which is a very interesting use case we work on right now. And obviously, the question about scoring and logging the driving behavior of the consumers in anonymous manner, obviously, can help improve the driving behavior and the safety and the consumption of the cars. So ultimately, for us, again, you understand these are enablers that help fleet operators create and focus on the consumer experience and the cost of ownership rather than try to hire armies of people to develop this kind of insight themselves. One of the most critical elements that the corporate fleets are spending time on is parking. And we all know it's one of the pain point of the industry right now. As you can imagine, this critical mass of parking and stop and start stuff help us create some maps for predicting the best place, moment, time to get the right parking spot. Analyzing the parking, the behavior of people, the way they approach the road, and even on the right-hand side, this is an example we worked on for a Korean OEM. We simply worked on reconstructing a 3D parking of a shopping mall by simply having the steering wheel, the brake start and stop, and we are able to tell you, even without knowing the age of your car, to tell you whether you are parked on the 5th or the 6th floor, and whether you are on the route on place 225 or 227. That's the ability that we have to turn data into data science to bring you this insight that again is available as classically to an API. So that you in your app or you in your service can simply give the right information at the right time to your customers. So all this data science is turned at your benefit for you to get a much more insightful relationship to your customers behind that. And ultimately, as I told you, we want to turn these capabilities into more innovation. We are Widgeo. We are not the guys to do every single use case. We're not the people to run every single insight. We want to be the platform for data intelligent processing around fleet. And like that, help fleet telematics providers, leasing providers, corporate fleet, even small fleet, access an array of innovating partners that can play on top of the data and be sure that you can build directly with them the right use case that fits your requirements for your customers. So this fleet marketplace will be launched early 2022. And that's very important for us that we remain very neutral into that because we want in our data for good approach to facilitate and fasten the innovation that we can see and takes place in the fleet industry by connecting people together and make the data exchange, the data processing, something so smooth and easy that people can really focus on developing their business together. Well, that's it for the presentation. I went a bit fast because I think it's kind of self-explanatory about how you see how we turn data for fleet into intelligence that you guys can simply leverage and exploit into your daily operations. And you don't have to, again, make it very difficult because we make the difficult part for you and you guys can return that into real strong business.
Thank you. Thank you, Benoit. I have questions for you, Benoit. How can fleet operators arbitrage on the make versus buy when it comes to the data processing?
Well, it's a bit the story we see. I mean, most of the time what we see is that there is a tendency to try to build your own dashboard, your own insights, to try to process because you have a lot of data at stake and available. So it's pretty interesting and easy for you to think that you can do something with. But what we see rapidly is that we realize that you don't have a critical mass to analyze live streaming, large fleet of data. And what we bring as intelligence also is to compare fleet to other fleet, which you cannot do when you only see your own data. So you can always make yourself. You can always build yourself. There is no issue on that. However, you might not be able to compare your data to others' data in an anonymous way. You might not be able to say whether you are as efficient as your customers, competitors, etc. So having a wider view on all of that, the capacity of data analysis is something that we think should be a mutualized data for good approach for everyone to leverage.
Okay. And another questions for you, Benoit. What's the killer service that will data even more relevant for fleet service providers?
Well, actually, my experience with fleet providers, there is none. I mean, it's all about saving money on one hand, getting more efficient. So it's the killer service is to silently use data to be more efficient. And the killer service for the consumer is to make his experience more smooth. I mean, these are very basic stuff I'm saying. But you see this parking stuff we are showing here is probably the killer experience from a consumer standpoint in big cities. The same way, I mean, we talk about efficiency management on the fleet side. The killer experience for us is to have the data to be used on the good stuff for all these use cases. So I've not found a big killer experience on the fleet side. It's all about optimizing and making it more smooth every day for everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Benoit. If you have any other questions to Benoit, so please don't not hesitate to contact him. So you can see that he shared it now at the screen. So his contact details. So don't hesitate to contact him by email or through a video chat here on the tool. Thanks again, Benoit, for your great presentations and good insights. It's very helpful and fruitful presentation. But I have another questions for you, Benoit. Do you also connect to individual data for settlements purpose, for instance?
Yeah, because we have what we call a consent management ability. So we work very closely with regulatory people. We have like weekly or bi-weekly meeting with these guys. And actually, we vet every single use case we have with these guys to be sure that we can do. So, hence, we have a pretty strong, pretty robust consent management approach when it comes to blurring, anonymizing data, getting the consent, releasing the data back. So it's something we play very, very seriously. And yes, we have these capabilities, Dieter.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Dieter. Thanks, Charif. Okay, so as I explained, so do not hesitate to contact Benoit. So later, so if you have other questions later, of course. Um, so Thanks for this interesting presentation. So let's stay with us. So we will start right now the next sessions presenting the artificial intelligence in fleet. To get access to this next session is very simple. You click again on session and you can start perhaps right now. So it's could be too early, so please be patient. So within the few minutes, you can get access to the next sessions. Thank you all for joining us for this presentation. Thank you, Benoit, again. And see you later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.